I am a fan of things that take effort. To see a watch, I appreciate the level of detail. I appreciate the material selections and the energy and effort that goes into creating this thing. Much like cars, when you have a car and you truly love this car, you go into the minute details. You want it to look perfect and sound perfect and operate perfectly, but it's the appreciation of the work, of the effort. My name is Marco Gerace, and I'm at my shop in North Hollywood, TLG Auto. My dad and my mother opened the shop in 1978, and we are known as being an air-cooled shop, but we are a Porsche repair shop, and we repair and we service current cars as well as the old cars. My father was a Porsche mechanic for most of his entire life. From the age of like 16, he started working on cars. Very shortly thereafter became a Porsche guy. And I grew up in and around Porsches, in and around the shop. My dad used to take me to work in the bassinet, you know, the little like baby carrier thing, and he'd put me on the workbench while he was building motors and transmissions, and he'd be using the air tools, and it didn't bother me. As I got older, I would come to the shop with him, and you know, school holidays and whatnot. And then when there was no school as I got older, I would work. I've been into watches as long as I can remember. I would go to Target on my bicycle and I'd walk around the watch, I guess, case, right? And it was Timex triathlons, the 2-button, you know, and you see how fast you could push the button. And I liked being able to interact with the thing on my wrist. And so one day I saw a Swiss Army watch and I had to have it. And my grandfather and I told him, you know, and he was working for a store that sold it. And one day he got it for me as a gift. And I had that watch forever, and I wore it all the time, and I wore it out, and I kept wearing it, changed the strap, did it again. And that's when I started to really get into keeping wristwatches. When I first started to collect was when my grandfather passed away, and we were digging through all his stuff, and I found a wristwatch. It was an Omega Seamaster Automatic with date. But I remembered it. I remembered him wearing it. He never made a big deal of anything. He just kind of just wore it. After he passed away, it was like one of the only things I kept. I took this wristwatch and I picked it up and it moved. The second hand moved. And I was like, wait a second, how long has this thing been sitting here? And I realized that it was an automatic watch. And so I wound it and I listened to it. And it sounded really cool. So I had it on just a cheesy leather strap for many years. And I took it with me to Switzerland when I went to Europe. And I ended up at the Omega boutique in Zurich. And it was like one of the first ones they had opened. They were happy to help me out because I was in there for like a day. And I put it on the Omega strap and the clasp, and I wore it the rest of my trip, and I wore it on my wedding day, and my grandfather wasn't there, but my grandfather was there, and it was really special. And so that was the first watch that like set my collection on its, you know, on its way to being what it is now. So this is a Longines that my dad got from his dad. And it's really special to me because for my entire life, my dad would tell me about this watch and I would see him wear it when he would get dressed up, and he wore it to my wedding. And this is one of those things that it's probably not worth very much financially, but it means the world to me. So it has a replacement crown, but otherwise it's 100% original and down to the safety chain. It kind of speaks to the permanence of a good mechanical wristwatch. My dad had recently passed away, and it's weird that I say that because all of the watches that I have seem to come through a passing of somebody. But I had to renegotiate the contract of our lease. And I sat down across the desk from my landlords, and we talked, and we hammered out a deal. And at the end of it, I noticed one of them was wearing a very nice watch, and the other one had a Rolex on, and I knew he kind of messed with Rolex a little bit. We had the conversation, and we got to talking about watches, and I told him what my grail watch was, which is this Rolex Submariner 116610 LV. And he goes, whoa, wait, what was that? And he starts writing it down. A few days later, I'm in the back building an engine, and the landlord, who never comes by, I've never seen the guy but more than twice in my life, he walks in, and he's carrying the white box. He says, I wanted you to know we really appreciate what your dad has done for us, you know, taking care of the building and being here for so long, and just we really appreciate you as tenants. And we've instituted a new program where if our tenant is 30 years in our building, we give them a watch. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, we started that today, so here you go. And I'm like, what is this? So I open it up, and it's the Hulk, right? It's the 116610 LV. And he goes, it's brand new. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we bought this for you as a gift. And I was just blown away, like just totally floored. And it's one of those things that you hold on to forever. And you give to your child, who gives it to their child, who gives it to their child, you hope, right? So I had the Grail watch. I acquired my Grail watch. I became more interested in wristwatches and the mechanical aspects of what it takes to put something like that together, and the horological history of time and timekeeping, and how it directly relates to what it is that I do. The intricacies and the minute adjustments, and how something so small, it all works together to, in my opinion, create something much larger. I always subscribe to buy what you like, right? If you gotta wear it, you gotta love it. Don't get hung up on it's not a Rolex, or it's not a this, or it's a this, or it's made of this. It doesn't matter. It matters how it makes you feel, right? It's all about here.